We're here tonight to celebrate and encourage accurate portrayals of people with disabilities in television and film. The most powerful portrayals allow us to see the human spirit triumph over the obstacles life throws at us. Hollywood Health and Society is delighted to co-host this panel with the Writers with Disabilities Committee and the Diversity Department of the Writers Guild of America West.
We set out to study the everyday life experiences of adults who have spina bifida. Unique to my story is that I'm both a researcher and a research participant with spina bifida.
And are you mad at him? Do you blame him for getting polio? Was it his fault?
Half a life, or a great part of my life, was dedicated to denial. And I guess that in the course of making this film, I feel I've reached a point of acceptance. And I think that's an interesting journey for a lot of disabled people.
I feel useless. Eleanor, I feel so useless.
No one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
There's a resort in rural Georgia. He claims that only recently a crippled boy swam in the waters and could walk again.
I can't quite picture you in the backwoods of Georgia.
Well, where do you picture me, Louis?
1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
And, you know, Franklin Roosevelt was a badass. And he was a badass when he sat in that chair. And he brought all those people together. And really the education that Franklin Roosevelt got from being disabled was he had to sit in a chair and he had to think. And he couldn't run away from things, which was the kind of man that he had been before.
Other students would ask me if I had a skiing accident. I would lie and say yes. That was more cool than saying I had spina bifida and going into a detailed explanation.
A friend of mine had fallen out of her wheelchair. She also had polio. We'd been to the same special school together, and she wore a plaster cast on her leg. People asked her the same question, skiing accident? To which she replied, yes. And she found that the entire public perception was quite different if people didn't think it was permanent.
I was in a skiing accident on a mountain called cerebral palsy. I don't recommend it.
So whole disability is something we all deal with, and we all must deal with. So part of the story was not so much about how he dealt with it, but it was getting everybody else to deal with it.
I think there's a sort of tacit assumption that you can say things about a disability group that you can't say about other minority groups. It's uncomfortable to say it about other minority groups. For example, people with disabilities just want to live independently. And if we said that about anybody else, it'd be really awkward.
Sydney. Carlos. We'll take Ricky.
No, wait, no, this doesn't make any sense. I'm better
Angel.
than all of these people. Why aren't you picking me?
Max, why don't you play on Alan's team?
What? No, we're all full.
I'm just not gonna play.
I'm sorry, Max, but you have to play.
Well, Micah doesn't have to play. Why can't I just sit out with him?
Max, Micah isn't playing because Micah has a disability.
Oh. Well, I have a disability too. Yeah, I have Asperger's.
We met with a lot of people within the autism community, including the mother of a teenage boy with Asperger's. And she told us about a public school friend of her son's who had been badly burned in a fire. But interestingly, her son didn't really notice or judge how this other boy looked. And that was something that she attributed to him having Asperger's. You know, he just did not see physical differences.
Having the strong friendship with the girls is everything.
Stop the music!
You okay, baby?
I just feel like they're all my sisters.
It's so frustrating!
We're honest with each other, and we tell it like it is.
Wait, not so fast. It means that I have somebody I can go to and somebody I can count on.
We are so strong individually, so together that just makes it even more dynamite.
About to sign a record deal in 2 weeks. Life was going great, 22 years old, and then I got into a hit-and-run car accident on the freeway, left me paralyzed from the waist down, snapped my back in half, severed my spinal cord.
I was watching one of those entertainment magazines, I think it was Extra or one of those shows. And you know, these things are scripted, so somebody wrote this down, gave it to him, and he read it, and he felt comfortable with it. And he said, you know, I think Glee is doing such a fantastic job of humanizing people with disabilities. And I thought, well, shit. What was I before he saw Glee?
Initially, I said this was not made for the disabled community, whatever that is. I said this is just made for the filmmaking audience. However, the process of getting it out there and my involvement in it revealed to me that this had a very special impact on the disabled community, whatever that is.
And also we cast all disabled actors. You know, it's a huge, you know, we had all those people in the pool, everybody you saw there, they're disabled, you know, and it was like, it taught me that in anything I make or produce from now on, don't be afraid. I mean, go for it. Let's have it. Let's put everybody in there, because it was no big deal. And it was interesting to watch the crew and everyone kind of go, well, this is very easy to use disabled actors on location in the middle of the woods. And it was actually quite easy. It was easy. It was no big deal. You know, so it's like you're kind of having to help everybody else get with the program.
Even on shows that are celebrated for their depictions of disability, the disability is at the forefront of that character's purpose. So if I'm in a scene on my crutches, like I can't just be going to get a cup of coffee at Starbucks, because we don't do that. We don't go to movies, we don't go on dates, we don't get coffee. We have to have a backstory that says, my life was traumatic and I really need this coffee.
An unanticipated theme arose in our interviews with women who had spina bifida about how shoes mattered substantially in their everyday lives. Several women provided us with compelling narratives about a topic thus far unexplored in the medical and social science literature: the impact on one's identity of wearing orthopedic shoes.
Stop avoiding the experience of disability, but finally accepting this is my body.
There was a show on TV called Dark Angel with Jessica Alba, and that was the first time that I had seen Jessica Alba, which was a nice moment. But somebody with a disability, you know, as a central character, she got involved in this relationship with a guy who had been paralyzed in the pilot episode, and then by the second season they cured him, because God knows that's all that we're interested in, is just get rid of this thing. And so what does that tell people who don't have disabilities? It means you are not enough. Somebody with a disability is not enough. It has to be changed. And I think even in respect to Glee, the idea that the first showcase episode of the kid in the wheelchair was, God, I wish I could walk and dance and jump around. And I think, again, if you replace that with any other minority, if that were a black kid dreaming of being white or a gay kid dreaming of being straight, nobody would be supporting that.
I think the Writers Guild, this is something that could be done, could go to writers' rooms and just remind writers to be more open and colorblind in their casting.
Most of the power, I would say, sits with casting, because it shouldn't be the case that we should have to say, you know, the boyfriend is somebody in a wheelchair or the doctor is somebody on crutches or whatever. That should just kind of be part of the experience. And that's true in every profession, you know. And I mention that to people, and they're surprised. There are doctors in wheelchairs. Well, how do they do that? Well, wouldn't that be an interesting story to watch on television? I think that what we're really after, and I don't intend to speak for everyone, is kind of indifference, so that it gets to the point so you don't have to have panels like this, so that you sit down and talk about a specific topic, because it's so culturally integrated and it's such a non-issue.